Good day, Internet. My name is Evan, and I've been writing for over a decade now. Mostly nonfiction, but just this year, I went all in on fiction storytelling. And the reason why is that the landscape has changed dramatically in the past 2 years. And I've always wanted to write stories ever since I was a kid, but only this time the opportunity became so evident. And this is why I'm so excited to share this video, is because I want to show you the opportunity that I saw for myself. Most people think that writing stories is difficult, and in some ways it can be really difficult, but I think writing in its purest form is simply the pouring out of your thoughts, ideas, and emotions. And for me, it would be better to do it in a state where you're relaxed. Most people like to call this flow state. It's simply just effortless writing. You're not hindered by external expectations or notions of success or anything really. You're just pouring your heart out. Once you get into that state of writing effortlessly, the quality of your work would highly increase and you be more relatable. This is common for many stories across the board in different mediums. I personally like anime, and one of my heroes is Ichiro Oda, the creator of the One Piece manga and anime series. It's become a worldwide phenomenon now. During an interview, when this creator was asked why does he think that One Piece became so successful, and what struck me the most was what he said. Whenever he's creating the story, he's always having fun and laughing. It's like because the character makes him laugh, his creation amuses him, and all the scenes he creates, all the interactions, the dialogues, they somehow put a smile on his face, and as a result, it also puts a smile on our faces. I do believe that if you're having fun while creating something, the reader will also have fun reading it because it's genuine, and like it or not, you're not very unique. What you like, what makes you laugh, what's fun for you is also likely fun for other people. So try not to think so hard about writing. Try not to strain yourself while doing it. Put yourself in a relaxed state and let the words flow naturally, because you could just polish later on anyway. Now, that said, there is another side that I would like to introduce to you, because this part wasn't enough for me back then. What really drove me to pursue storytelling and start a YouTube channel to teach other people about storytelling is that there is a huge advantage that has come for ordinary people like us. I'd like to introduce you what I call the GodMode Workflow. Like a god, you're leveraging different beings beyond your own, but you're still the controller. You're still the facilitator. You are the visionary, but you are now having multiple brains to assist you, especially on things that you're not that good at. Now, the God Mode Workflow is about using technology to maximize your creativity so you can do better with less effort. The God Mode Workflow requires two kinds of tools: a conversational AI like ChatGPT and an AI-powered database like Notion. An AI-powered database would allow us to speak to our story. And in a minute, you'll find out what speaking to our story is. It's quite amazing. So from this point on, I'm going to show you how to demolish most of your problems as a writer and be able to write effortlessly. You probably have a good story idea or two. Most of us do. But what we struggle is finding ways to make it more interesting, because we always have our readers in mind, right? But I actually want to take an opposite stance on that and instead focus on what you like and what would interest you if you were the ones consuming the story. Again, it goes back to writing being an expression of ourselves. So therefore, it should be about us, not even about our audience. So first, I want you to find your interest, and then we're going to brainstorm that with ChatGPT to help flesh it out. So let me give you an example. For me, I've always been fascinated with gangster movies. I like Italian mafia, even Yakuza, all those, mobsters. But I wanted to create a mafia story that's centered around my home country, the Philippines. So I want to create because corporations now control areas Let's try that. So as you can see, I just poured out what's on my mind, and there you go. ChatGPT was able to help me flesh out my ideas. Now, is it my idea? Is it the AI's? It's neither. It's ours. It's my idea, and this AI expanded it. And we're gonna continue the brainstorming because this is only the first part. See the level of detail here? World building. In 2030, the world is a blend of futuristic technology and medieval social structures due to corporate dominance, setting urban landscape dominated by neon lights, holograms. Great idea. Already thought about, but the AI helped put it into words. Futuristic plasma guns, energy swords. I don't have to use any of that. It even includes the organizations, even characters. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna be copying most of these, but it gives me a lot to think about, right? If this was long ago when I was just facing a typewriter on my own with nothing else in my room, it would be a lot harder to do as opposed to doing it now. The cool thing about conversational AI like ChatGPT is that you can save one subject or one story under one chat. So all of your conversations here will be around this topic or this story. And then you could just like pick up where you left off tomorrow if you can't finish everything today. It's one chat where it will remember everything. Some would say that characters are more important than the story. And in some ways they can be, because it's the characters that relate to the audience. So what we're gonna do here is create characters with depth with the help of ChatGPT and other AI tools. So for me, what I had in mind was a story with two brothers. They are the protagonists. And eventually took over the mafia world and become the mafia emperor. So this is a real story that I do plan to develop. It gave me a lot of information to work with here. As you can see, it even includes the personality traits, calculated, charismatic. So basically, you could just nitpick here. Take what you want, omit what you don't, and then add some more stuff. For example, let's see, what do I like here? I want his name to be Diego. 6'1", is too tall for a Filipino. Change his height to 5'10". I like this part that he's a self-taught hacker. But he doesn't seem to have a weakness. His weakness is that he loves to party too much. He often relies on his brother for physical strength. So as you can see, it changed up some of the elements here. Lean and slightly built, but not physically imposing. I can work with that. Paint scar, we're probably gonna remove this one. So a lot of these things I'm gonna remove. I'll probably just keep like 10 to 20% of these. Now, world building is a very complex process because you're creating a universe in your head. So how do you make it easier? You're gonna need multiple brains to be able to make it come together. And if you do forget things, it would really help if you have like a database to speak to. Let me show you what I mean. So now I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to help me build the world of my story. So it is set in Cebu, and the world has reverted to a medieval like state where most of the corporation, there are also tons of mercenaries and they roam the streets. Governments have lost their grip on civilization. Of the Wild West. Pretty cool setting for me. I don't know if you find that interesting, but I do. Let's see what ChatGPT can provide. Alright, Cebu in 2030, like many parts of the world, has descended into a dystopian medieval state dominated by mega corporations. Yeah, okay. Corporate control, mercenaries roam about, futuristic gadgets. So now we have social structures, middle class, lower class. We're slowly building the world. Imagine if you had to do this by yourself when you can do this now. And it's so detailed. Now, I know most people at this point would be tempted to copy paste a lot of these things, but that would be a huge mistake. Instead, what I would recommend is to take only bits and pieces from the AI's recommendations and make sure to always add your own spin. Remember, AI does generate generic content in some ways. That's why it's really important to choose which parts of the AI's recommendations you're going to integrate in your story. Always remember that AI is an extension of your mind. It's an extension of your creativity. It's not supposed to replace it, because if it does, then the result would be poor. And besides, the magic of AI powered writing is in the back and forth brainstorming phase. You feed ChatGPT your ideas, the program refines them, and you dissect those refined ideas and harvest the gems, and then you rework them into your narrative fabric. And then you feed that info into the AI again. And then the AI polishes it further, maybe adds new material, and then from those, you dissect those materials again, and then you feed it again to the AI, and on the cycle repeats. There is no structure for this, because continuous and evolving dialogue between you and the AI is what would carve out the best stories you can make. For example, are neon lights and holograms compatible with gangsters and mafia? Fits into the cyberpunk theme. So how do we blend different mobster groups? So as you can see, you could just continually ask questions, clarify stuff. It is what you make of it. I'm just showing you what could be done, but you could do so much more. Now, you might be wondering, with so much data that we have, how are we supposed to remember all of this? How are we supposed to arrange all of this? That's why we're going to use Notion. Notion is a free platform where you can store data. You could store lots of images, you could store different texts, and you could have multiple stories. As you can see here, I already have some. So, for instance, I want to call this a global gangster story. I haven't come up with a title yet. So, there's lots of tutorials on how to use Notion online, but it's very easy. So, what I'm going to do here is put in the setting or the world here. One, maybe characters. Character is Carlo and Dexter.
A few minutes later.
Now, as you can see here, I've added a lot of details from my story. Most of this I had to type manually. Only a few things I copy pasted. I got the world setting. I've added the character profiles here. As you can see, I even added some details on the different gangsters, the different mafias. Now, I mentioned earlier that you could speak with your story. Here, watch this. You could just go to this area, Notion AI, and you could like ask it anything that you want, and it will be able to answer regarding your story. For example, assuming that I have a lot of details that I can't remember them very well, all I have to do is talk to the AI and say something like, what's the relationship between the mercenaries and the mega corporations in my global gangster story? And here's the answer. As you can see, it was able to give me the answer I need. So this works very well if you, let's say you have like a story almost as vast as like the Game of Thrones books. Having an AI like this who you could talk to and knows the ins and outs of your story is extremely helpful, and it would help you keep track of things. When it comes to plotting, this image right here is pretty popular. It's called The Hero's Journey. You might have heard of it. It's a timeless story structure, or so I've heard. But personally, I don't use it. You may use it if you want, but for me, it's more important to make every scene count. Like, just have no boring scenes. I don't really follow any structure because, you know, art is about breaking the rules anyway, and I just feel like following a structure would limit my creativity, so I personally don't do that and won't recommend it. But you do you, and use ChatGPT to perhaps help you develop the plot points, and then also use Notion to help like find any inconsistencies in the plot, especially if as it becomes longer. Whenever I get writer's block, I either go for a walk or do something fun, like you could like maybe smoke a little blunt or whatever. I'm not judging, like do whatever you want that takes the edge off. Because again, we need to go back into that relaxation phase where our mind just flows. So just do something that makes you happy and take a break if you have to. Then get back to writing. And you could also just ask ChatGPT for like inspiration. Like, Let's say I'm gonna tell ChatGPT, I already have the story nailed down, but just can't seem to start. Help me start the story by giving me 10 variations. So, does that mean I'm gonna copy what ChatGPT suggested? No. But by reading this, now I have a lot of ideas. Lots of ideas would flow into my brain, and I could use this to as a starting point to write. So, writer's block is gone. Now, I've shown to you how the GodMode workflow works, but it is up to you to apply it in your own story and develop it as good as you can. Because it's not about the tool, it's about how you use it or misuse it. The most common pitfall of using AI is basically when you over rely on it for everything. Always make sure that a lot of the creativity is going to come from you. You should not let it write the whole story. You should be the writer, and the AI is the tool. To stay updated with the AI powered storytelling niche, I suggest you sign up to my newsletter, links down below. And if you want to bring your story to life with rich visuals, I suggest you watch the next video because it will teach you how to illustrate your characters and compose any scenes for any story medium.
Put out all this art, it's my only medicine, yeah. Everything I do, I'm just being genuine, yeah. I'm